Hey guys, welcome back. It's Iron Beast here. We're doing another SnowRunner mod session today. What we're doing is we're having a look at the same vehicle that I used in the last video you may have seen, which was the International Lodestar from the Scouts Max Pack console mod, which you can find in the community mods when you go into SnowRunner at mod.io. And so what I decided to do was build a mod with extra wheels. So what we're going to do is I won't load the game just yet, but I'll show you at the end instead, because otherwise it just takes too long to load the game. So what we're going to do first of all is we're into our unzipped PAK file for the Scouts Max Pack console. So if we go into our links over here and go to our shortcuts, it's somewhere down here maybe. We'll find it. Let's have a look. So to locate your community mods, you're going into this particular directory here, which is Documents, Games, SnowRunner Base, Mods, Mod.io, and into Mods, and there are your community mods. You find it. So you just go through here and find the mod, and the mod should pretty much have a similar name to what it does in the mod browser. Go through here, look for your mod, locate the mod, and then I recommend taking a backup copy of it. So when I'm doing this, I have a separate folder on my desktop that I bring the Scouts Max Pack console file over to. And that's just a zipped up file with the PAK format. So we're going to copy that, bring it over here into our working folder, and paste it. So there we have it pasted, and then you're just going to right click and extract it to its unzipped folder. And its unzipped folder is here. We open the unzipped folder, and with the unzipped folder, and everything about the trucks is here. We go to classes, find the truck, and as I was mentioning, I want to make a 12-wheel version of this truck. Let's start with a fresh file. Let's start with this file here, which has just the 3 axles. Okay, we'll make a copy of that file, and we'll start again. So I'm just clicking all of this in so you can see it happening, but obviously a lot faster with hotkeys, shortcuts. So 12 wheeler, done. Okay, so let's open a 12 wheeler file, and you can see that it has the factory 3 axles. Well, this is not actually factory either. These are the 3 axles in the format that I made them in the previous video. I didn't want them to have dual rear wheels, rear tires on the 2 rear axles, so I made them single, and I made the wheelbase narrower, the wheel diameter larger, and all that kind of thing. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to make some new axles. We need a rear wheel, so we're going to paste 2 more of these in. So just take this whole part here, we're going to copy it, paste 1 more. So now we have our rear axle. So we've got 4 at the rear, and we need 1 more at the front. That'll give us our 12. So we'll take this front configuration as well, and we'll paste it at the top. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we have our 6 axles. Now we better configure these axles. So what I want to do is I want to have the second axle set up as a rear, and that's for suspension purposes. Okay, so I'm going to set up the front wheel, which is the second wheel. I'm going to rename that to rear wheel 1, and you'll see what I'm doing that for soon. I'm going to change that steering angle down a bit to 34. The caster can probably be 4, and everything else can be the same. That can be default. And now let's go down and reconfigure our middle axles, or rear axles as such. So let's call that one wheel 2. Let's make that positive 24, so it's not turning as much as our second axle there. And that caster can probably go to stay at 2. Go down to our next wheel. What can we name this? Let's call this 0. And this is just for ourselves. If we need to configure anything else separately based on each axle, we've got a separate name that we can just slip into the code and be good. We'll leave that one at 14 and 2. and full. So these are on full because we want these only to be powered when we turn the diff lock on. When we turn a wheel drive on, sorry. So we've got wheel 0, wheel, that can just stay as a wheel. And that's a rear, and that's fine. Let's make that, that's getting closer to the back of the vehicle, so let's make that possibly 18 and 2. And we'll leave that full as well. And our original far rear axle, which is wheel 1, we want to name this to front now, because we want this running off the same suspension setup as the front wheel. Okay, and that's also going to have a larger steering angle because we want to work the back end of the vehicle around quicker. Okay, and I'm just going to put a caster 4 on that. Okay, so that's all set up. That's good to go. So I'll save that out. And that gives us our extra axles, our extra wheels. Now let's go down here to the wheel template. What we need to do for the wheel template is we need to paste in some more wheels. So let's copy this front wheel configuration and let's paste in 2 more of those. Okay, and let's paste in 1 more rear wheel configuration. And because we've already got the offset set up, now all we have to do is just the distance from front to back of these wheels. So let's double check and rename these wheels now. So we've got front wheel, and the next one's going to be wheel 1. The next one after that's going to be front wheel 2. And we better just go back up and make sure we've renamed it front wheel 2. Got rear wheel 2. Let's just check we have that right. So, front wheel 1, front wheel 2. So that needs to be front wheel 2. Okay, so we've got our first front wheel. We've got front wheel 1, front wheel 2. So we've got 3 that are running front configuration, but even though the set is rears, and that just helps us track what we're looking at here. Just makes it easier for us to set everything up. So now we just need to space these wheels out evenly along the chassis. So the original front wheel is 2.16, and so if we take the calculation difference between this axle, which is the original second axle, and the original rear axle, that difference there is going to give us a pretty accurate number that makes sure those wheels are spaced, and we can just use our calculator and calculate what these other axles are going to be spaced at. So I'm just going to do that off screen. You can't see it because I'm using my calculator, and that's going to be 0.56, and this just makes sure that these axles are spaced evenly across the chassis for cosmetic purposes and for balance as well. Now the next one's going to be minus 1.04. Important to take a bit of care with the typing and numbering here, because otherwise you'll have axles all over the place when you get back to the model. The next one's actually going to be minus 2.64. And then minus 4.24. And the last one is going to be minus 5.84. And this works out quite well because on this particular model it has add-ons from the original author to put the extended flatbed on, but just the overhang off the rear of the vehicle was so much. And so originally when I was making the mod to counter that and to be able to pull semi-trailers, I changed the offset center of mass for the vehicle and for the cab. Made it forward and lower so that the vehicle wouldn't wheelie. Okay, so that's pretty much everything we need to do. We don't need to worry about suspension. We'd set that up already in the model that we've pulled over here. What else can we go through and double check? So let's go through just quickly and have a look that these settings are all okay. So that's a responsiveness. Oh, that's way too high. So let's make the responsiveness of the steering to 0.22. It's usually what I set it at. 0.6 steering speed. And the rest of that looks pretty good. Let's save that out. Just again checking that we've got everything typed in correctly. So we've got steering with power in the front two axles. And there we go, we'd missed one. We need power on the rear axle as well, just to give us a little bit of push. There we go, and the others are on full. They're going to turn on when we turn on the all-wheel drive. So we have 3 axles full time and 3 selectable. Okay, so that's all good. The last thing we need to do here is we need to go down and find the display name for this vehicle. It should be down here. International Loadstar 1700 Max. So we need to make the International Loadstar 12-wheeler, or just 12 wheel. And so that's going to make sure now that that shows up as 12-wheeler in our menu. When we load the game up, we can then select this vehicle. So that's everything we need, and following the same process as before, we've saved the files out. So now we just need to zip that back up. So we zip that back up in the PAK format, leaving the compression as store the compression on these files. Swap back over, and now that's ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead, load up the game, and then we'll select the vehicle and make sure that our axles are spaced properly, and give it a quick test drive, and then we can come back and tweak anything else we need to do. Apart from that, we're going to be good to go. So let's load up the game. Alright guys, so we've just loaded up the game, and don't worry about that. So we'll go into the store and see first of all if we've got all the naming correct, that our new vehicle should be showing up in the store. And then if we've got that part right, we should be able to buy it. And then we will be able to drive and test it. So that's the standard vehicle. That's weird, the Iron Beast versions aren't showing up at all. Oh no, there's the Iron Beast 1700, and then we have the Iron Beast 12-wheeler. So let's load that up, and it carries a hefty price of minus $91,000, which is good for us. There we go, just like that, guys. So we got it right. So I mean, what we don't have, obviously we'll get out in a minute, but what we don't have is the suspension setup. So we have the My Larger Version tires, so they're in. Selected them, we'll purchase those, put those on, and make sure that we have the right suspension setup. This is the active suspension that was set up for the other vehicle, and I've made it so that my mod versions of the motor and the transmission are already there. Let's put the big winch on and a snorkel. Frame add-ons, there we go. So you can see that we don't have the physical model for the suspension setup. The original author only had one even in their dual rear axle version, and I'm just not going to bother putting it in because then we don't have a frame to attach it to, and then you start to get into some more advanced editing. So we're just trying to make this really basic editing, comfort mods to get the performance you want by editing the XML files. Okay, so we'll just leave it there for now, but what we will do is put on the couple of things. So we've got our loading crane, let's put that on. And then let's see if our sideboard bed actually fits. There you go. Now it does, which is great. Before, obviously the axles were here. You had this big overhang. Now we don't have any overhang. So I'm a stickler for a few bits and pieces. So let me get those on. Front bumper. That's good. So let's go and have a look at it. So here we go. So there's our edit, guys. I've made this vehicle and suspension setup that it's going to sit in the the high suspension mode anyway, so we're not worried about those clearances. Now we have clearance of all the parts on the truck, so even though we don't have an active model for the rear axle suspension setup, we do have those. Now let's check that we have the steering correct. Our steering is correct, so we've got quite aggressive steering at the front, but it's graduated, so if you have a look you can see that from front to back the steering angle decreases, and the same from back to front. Next thing we need to check on our little mod here that we've done is the power. Is the power working the way we want it? If we've got it right, the first two axles should be driving and the rear axle should be driving. So let's start it up. Yep, so you can see that. And just to be safe, let's get on some mud and double check it. Alright, there's a puddle there. This will soon tell us if we have the right axles working or not working. Okay, front two are powered, we can see them spinning, and the rear is powered, we can see that spinning. And now when we turn all-wheel drive on, we have all power engaged, so that's perfect. And the wheel travel, axle travel, and all that's perfect for now. So we've made ourselves a wheeled tank with some pretty decent grip. The only thing I probably need to do is put a different transmission in, because this one's not really very fast, because of course we've added weight and traction with all of these extra wheels, and of course the torque value in your XML file for your vehicle divides the power evenly across all of the axles. So before we had 3 axles with all this power, and now we have 6 axles with all of this power. But I think you'll find, and we'll just take it for a quick drive, that the vehicle is really quite a lot of fun to drive now. It's still a bit nimble. Maybe I need to change the rear axle, probably steering and the steering responsiveness maybe. But then again, if we had weight on it, which is what we want to do with this eventually, I think you'd find that it would sit quite nicely. So we have good axle travel, we have good traction, we can get up and over these places quite easily. We still have axle damage, so we're not cheating too much. And we're still maneuverable, we can still snake quite quickly around through the trees. Let's go and see if we can get up a bank and get down to the water fast. So this little crawler is pretty much driving like a tank now, isn't it? Here's the test, can we get up that rock wall there? Oops, it's broken axle. Let's try and get up that wall, that's pretty steep. Look at that, straight up. And the funny thing is, we are still in our normal first gear, we're not in our low range. Let's see if we can get to the water from here. So you can see there's some pretty impressive rock crawling ability. Looks like we can get between those trees, possibly those ones there, that's where we're going. Alright, and there we have it guys, so we've made ourselves a crawler capable of going up rock faces with our 6 axles, all-wheel drive engaged, and of course we can get in through this water possibly, as long as it's not too deep. There aren't many places on the map we can't go with a bit of ease now. So I'm going to wrap it up there guys, so just hope you enjoyed that video again of making your comfort mods and even changing some physical aspects of the vehicle in the game by editing the XML files. Feel free to check out my other videos and stay tuned as I post more up that are going to help you if you're new to modding or new to the game, or just want to make a couple of adjustments and without having to wade through the hundreds and hundreds of mod vehicles that are already in the mod community and then have to drive them and then find out they're not quite how you want them. You may as well just start with the vehicle that you like the look of and then start editing those files to get the performance and look that you want. Thanks for watching guys, we'll catch you real soon. Bye for now.